The Miser and His Gold. Once upon a time there was a miser who used to hide his gold at the foot of a tree in his garden. But every week he used to go and dig it up and gloat over his gains. A robber, whom had noticed this, went and dug up the gold and decamped with it. When the miser next came to gloat over his treasures, he found nothing but the empty hole. He tore his hair, and raised such an outcry that all of the neighbors came around him to see what the problem was. He told them how he used to come and visit his gold. "Did you ever take any of it out?" asked one of them. "Nay," said he, "I only came to look at it." "Then come again and look at the hole," said a neighbor. "It will do you just as much good." Wealth unused might as well not exist. The Fox and the Mosquitoes. A fox, after crossing a river, got its tail entangled in a bush and could not move. A number of mosquitoes, seeing its plight, settled upon it and enjoyed a good meal undisturbed by its tail. A hedgehog strolling by took pity upon the fox and went up to him. "You're in a bad way, neighbor," said the hedgehog. "Shall I relieve you by driving off those mosquitoes who are sucking your blood?" "Thank you, Master Hedgehog," said the fox, "but I would rather not." "Why, how is that?" asked the hedgehog. "Well, you see," was the answer, "these mosquitoes have had their fill. If you drive these away, others will come with fresh appetite and bleed me to death." The Fox Without a Tail. It happened that a fox caught its tail in a trap, and was struggling to release himself, unfortunately lost all of it except for the stump. At first, he was ashamed to show himself among his fellow foxes, but at last he determined to put a bolder face upon his misfortune, and summoned all the foxes to a general meeting to consider a proposal which he had placed before them. When they had assembled together, the fox proposed that they should all do away with their tails. He pointed out how inconvenient a tail was when they were pursued by their enemies, the dogs, and how it always got in the way when they desired to sit down and hold a friendly conversation with one another. He failed to see any advantage in caring about such a useless encumbrance. "That is all very well," said one of the older foxes, "but I do not think you would have recommended us to dispense with our chief ornament if you had not happened to lose it yourself." It is always beneficial to distrust interested advice. The One-Eyed Doe. A doe had the misfortune to lose one of her eyes, and could not see any one approaching her on that side. So, to avoid any danger, she always used to feed on a high cliff near the sea, with her sound eye looking towards the land. This way she could see whenever the hunters approached her on land, and often escaped them by this means. But the hunters soon found out that she was blind in one eye, and hired a boat to row under the cliff where she used to feed. They then shot her from the sea. "Ah!" cried she with her dying voice, "unfortunately, you cannot escape your fate." Belling the Cat. Long ago, the mice had a general council to consider what measures they could take to outwit their common enemy, the cat. Some said this, others said a little of that, but at last a young mouse got up and said he had a proposal to make, which he thought would meet the case. "You will all agree," said the mouse, "that our chief danger consists in the sly and treacherous manner in which the enemy approaches us. Now, if we could receive some signal of her approach, we could easily escape from her. I venture, therefore, to propose that a small bell be procured, and attached by a ribbon round the neck of the cat. By this means we should always know when she is about, and we can easily retire while she is in the neighborhood." This proposal met with general applause, until an old mouse got up and said, "That is all very well, but who is exactly to tie the bell on this cat?" The mice looked at one another and nobody spoke up. Then the old mouse said, "It is easy to propose impossible remedies." The Hare and the Tortoise. The hare was once boasting of his speed before the other animals. "I have never yet been beaten," said he, "when I put forth my full speed. I challenge anyone here to race with me." The tortoise said quietly, "I accept your challenge." "That is a good joke," said the hare. "I could dance around you all the way." "Keep your boasting till you've beaten," answered the tortoise. "Shall we race?" So a course was fixed up and the start was made. The hare darted almost out of sight instantly, but soon stopped, and to show his contempt for the tortoise, laid down to have a little nap. The tortoise plodded on, slow and steady, and when the hare awoke from his nap, he saw that the tortoise was just near the winning post and could not run up in time to save the race. Then said the tortoise, "Plodding wins the race." The Old Man and Death. An old laborer, bent double with age and toil, was gathering sticks in a forest. At last he grew so tired and hopeless that he threw down the bundle of sticks and cried out, "I cannot bear this life any longer. Ah, I wish death would only come and take me." As he spoke, Death, a grisly-looking skeleton, appeared and said to him, "What wouldst thou, mortal? I heard thee call me." "Please, sir," replied the woodcutter, "would you kindly help me to lift this bundle of sticks onto my shoulder? We would often be sorry if our wishes were gratified." The Hare with Many Friends. A hare was very popular with the other beasts who all claimed to be her friends. But one day she heard the hounds approaching, and hoped to escape them by the aid of many of her friends. So she went up to the horse, and asked him to carry her away from the hounds on his back. But he declined, stating that he had important work to do for his master. He felt sure, he said, that all her other friends would come to her assistance. She then inquired to the bull, and she hoped that the bull would repel the hound with his horns. The bull replied, "I am very sorry, but I have an appointment with a lady, but I feel sure that our friend the goat will do what you want." The goat, however, feared that his back might do her some harm if he took her upon it. The ram, he felt sure, was the proper friend to inquire to. So she went to the ram and told him the case. The ram replied, "Another time, my dear friend. I do not like to interfere on the present occasion, as hounds have been known to eat sheep as well as hares." The hare then applied as a last hope to the calf, who regretted that he was unable to help her, as he did not like to take the responsibility upon himself, since so many of the other animals also declined. By this time the hounds were quite near, and the hare took to her heels and luckily escaped. He that has many friends has no friends. The Lion in Love. A lion once fell in love with a beautiful maiden and proposed marriage to her parents. The old people did not know what to say. They did not like to give their daughter to the lion, yet they did not wish to enrage the king of the beasts either. At last the father said, "We feel highly honored by your majesty's proposal, but you see our daughter is a tender young thing, and we fear that the intensity of your affection might possibly do her some injury. Might I venture to suggest that your majesty should you have your claws removed and your teeth extracted, then we would gladly consider your proposal again." The lion was so much in love that he had his claws trimmed and his big teeth taken out. But when he came again to the parents of the young girl, they simply laughed in his face and bade him to do his worst. Love can tame the wildest. The Bundle of Sticks. An old man on the point of death summoned his sons around him to give them some parting advice. He ordered his servants to bring him a bundle of sticks, and said to his eldest son, "Break it." The son strained and strained, but with all of his effort he was unable to break the bundle. The other sons also tried, but none of them were successful either. "Untie the bundle," said the father, "and each of you take out a stick." When they had done so, he called out to them, Now, break!" And each stick was easily broken. "You see my meaning," said their father. "Union gives strength."